Hey everybody, it's Val and Zoe. It's time for another Q&A. In today's Q&A, I'm going to answer the question, why don't we put Jessica in a group home? I'm going to start this video off with a quote, and the quote is, why don't you put Jessica in a group home? You have to do everything for her. So this kind of comment, I interpret this as indicating it's somebody that thinks I deserve more than to have to take care of Jess all the time. Or maybe it's not about me, and it is about Jessica's worth and the implication that Jess is not worth the sacrifice that I have to make. I get so many varying comments and questions, one extreme to the other. It's enough to cause whiplash. So I have some comments here that I'm going to read. I have them on my computer in front of me. I'm going to read them and respond to them, and I'll get to the point about the group home. Here's some more questions. Somebody says, why does Jess eat with a spoon all the time? You can't teach her to eat the right way? Has anybody shown Jess how to eat with a fork? So, to briefly address those questions, number one, a spoon is easiest for Jess. When you're visually impaired and you have fine motor deficits, eating can be very frustrating because it's hard to scoop, it's hard to keep things on a fork, it's hard to find them and fork them. And using a spoon reduces the level of frustration. And in terms of it being the right way, that's just a matter of, it is the right way. It is the right way for her when that's what she chooses. She gets to choose if she wants to use a spoon or a fork. And then, has anybody showed Jess how to eat with a fork? Of course. And she can use a fork with some foods, and occasionally will choose a fork with some foods. Then we have questions like these. Why does she need help? She can't dress herself? You never taught her? She needs to learn how to do things on her own. I have to assume somebody that would say, why does she need help, hasn't watched enough of her videos to know the full picture, which I will talk about in a little while. She needs help because she needs help. Jessica has multiple disabilities and requires assistance with most activities of daily living. So then the comments go back to group home. But this time, instead of it being about she takes too much of my effort, it's the exact opposite. I had this comment. Put her in a group home so she can learn stuff. And this person goes on to say, I have a friend that's disabled and she knows how to cook. She knows how to do laundry. She lives on her own apartment. She knows how to go to the grocery store. She's got her own car. And this kind of comment seems to indicate that we haven't tried to teach Jessica anything, and that all we need to do is stick her somewhere where she can learn. You know, when people say to me, I have a friend who can blank, well, so do I. I have lots of friends who can do lots of things. If you have a friend with a disability that can do some things that Jessica isn't able to do yet, well, I'm happy for that person. I'm very happy. It's wonderful. And that has nothing whatsoever to do with Jessica and her abilities. There's no comparison there at all, because that person is not Jessica. They don't have the same disabilities as Jessica. Jessica's the only person in the world with her exact combination of disabilities. I guarantee you there's not a single person with the exact same combination of disabilities as Jessica. So there's no comparison to Jessica. You might can get a little close. You might can say, I know somebody who has this. I know somebody who has this and this. I know somebody who has this, this, and this. But you're not going to have the same exact level of abilities, functioning, disability as Jessica. It's just not going to happen. I always find it amazing and interesting when somebody assumes that Jessica can't do things because we haven't taught her how to do things. The fact is that we have been working with Jessica on learning to do things since she was 7 months old. Just let that sink in a minute. 7 months old is when Jessica started early education, early intervention. And Jessica had education in a setting with a therapist or an educator from 7 months old until her 21st birthday. The things that she hasn't learned how to do is because she hadn't learned how to do them yet. We're working on it. She's making wonderful progress in so many areas, and we're so proud of her all the time. We're extremely proud of her. So I'd like to move on to talking about a spectrum. Often come across education, and you may too, talking about autism being a spectrum. And it's this vast and almost immeasurable spectrum of I don't know the politically correct terminology right now, but functioning in society, ability to do things, independent living skills, ability to communicate, have a family, don't have a family, advocate for yourself, not advocate for yourself, require full-time care, require very little level of support. It just goes on and on. But I'm not here to talk about the autism spectrum. That's not the point of my discussion. Autism isn't the only thing that has a spectrum. There's a nearly infinite spectrum of disabilities. They're not equal. The differences can be massive, profound even. That's why there's disability terminology all the way from invisible disability to profound disability. And within that spectrum of disabilities, you have these different segments that have spectrums. Autism, for example, is within the disability spectrum, and it has its own spectrum. Vision impairments have their own spectrum. So you go from mild vision impairment to total blindness. It's a big spectrum. Some people think blindness means total blindness. So some people think that with blindness, you either have some sort of visual impairment or you're totally blind. There's a big spectrum, and in fact, you can have some vision and be blind. Jess is blind. She has some vision, but her functional vision is at a level that is blindness. Also, in a segment in the disability spectrum, you could say is CP. So you can have very mild CP, almost unnoticeable, and you can have severe CP, and you can be anywhere on that spectrum. Jessica's on the very mild end of the CP spectrum. And then we also have this combination within the disability thing where you have multiple disabilities. And do those disabilities have a mild effect on each other or a profound effect on each other? Do they compound things, or are they totally separate and they don't intermingle? I mean, I doubt that is a very common occurrence. Jessica's disabilities together have a profound effect on her. It is what it is. It's what it's always been, and it's what it will always be with her. It doesn't mean she can't learn. It doesn't mean she won't learn. It's just, that is what it is, and it will always be a challenge for her to learn new things, to gain new skills, to become coordinated in those skills. It's a lot. So when people jump to conclusions about why Jess can't do certain things, it's because they don't understand or they haven't considered the spectrum of disabilities and how each affects her individually as well as together. If you're new or newish to our channel, you may want to check out this video. I'll put a link above, and it is about me explaining Jessica's multiple disabilities, how many she has, and what they mean. And so some of her disabilities that I talk about include autism, cortical blindness, and what we think she might can see, mild CP, hydrocephalus, and epilepsy. So back to talking about the group home. What does all this have to do with the question of why don't I put her in a group home? Here's the last comment that I'm going to quote. How do you all deal with Jessica all day? You should put her in a group home. Comments like that are difficult for me. They're difficult for our family who loves Jessica dearly, and we never, ever view her that way, ever. Jessica is a joy in our lives, and we all strive to help her achieve her maximum potential. We all try to help encourage her and support her however she needs. But what does that have to do with the group home? Here's my position on that. Group homes exist for a reason. They're very important and they're needed. At this point in Jessica's life, a group home is not what's the right placement for her. There's more than a few reasons why that's not the right placement for her. And here's a summary of those reasons. I'm not going to go into great lengths explaining all this. Jessica's at a point in life where she is making great gains in skills. Like really big gains, the most she's ever made. She's just doing so great. So what I'm saying is we are in a period of very positive, important learning. And the reason why, do you know why? I have a theory about why. And I believe it's because she's not in a program. So all these years of her being in a program or in therapy or in intervention or whatever, she's not now. She's not in a program. And I believe that's why she's making progress. She's not constantly stressed out by institutions that aren't the right setting for her and by people who don't understand her. She's in a loving, caring, stable, low-stress setting. It allows her to let her guard down. She's not constantly in extreme anxiety. She doesn't have to live stressed out, on high alert, and on the edge of panic like she did when we were trying other programs and settings. We have a self-directed plan that we develop with professionals, and we are having major success with that, and that's what's best for Jessica. I think a lot of people don't understand our self-directed plan. They don't see what we're doing with Jessica. And I would say that's okay, but it's not really okay. I would like for people to understand better because I think it could help other people. But Jessica's self-directed plan is integrated into every moment of every day of our regular everyday lives here. And it's a natural flow. We don't have to try to take something you learn in a setting that's not real and then transition that into a setting that is real, that is real life, daily life in a real setting. She's learning it all in her environment where she lives and functions every day, and she's comfortable and she's around people who support her in a positive way. She's making great progress, and yes, we're working on things all the time. So why don't I put Jessica in a group home? And that's because that's not where she belongs. That's not what's best for her right now. We're doing exactly what's best for Jessica right now. I hope this has answered some questions. I hope this has addressed some things that people have been wondering or may wonder about in the future. I hope this helps other families in some way. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. If you have negative, hateful comments, they will be deleted. We have almost full-time help with comments. I don't have to look at them all myself when they're mean and ugly. People take care of those often for me, so I don't have to see them, and that's just part of how we run our channel here. So just putting that out there. If you plan on putting mean, ugly things, they'll disappear. But I'm always open to questions that are asked in a polite way. People who are genuinely curious or want help with something or want to help someone else with something. So please feel free to comment below. And we keep track of questions that people ask so we can do Q&As. I have a list somewhere written down. I need to get it on my computer where I can find it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope y'all have a great day.